Hello and welcome to Wendell's Guide for Gear, Gems, Cloak, and Item Level in the Mob Remix event. So I wanted to go ahead and make this video since I don't see very many people talking about this stuff in detail, if at all. Um, in fact, if anything, I see a lot of YouTubers kind of giving bad advice on this stuff. So I'll break it down to two halves. First half is going to be while leveling. Second half is going to be once you actually reach max level. So quick piece of advice, you can actually buy bag slots here at the bank and everything, and in order to get additional bags, there's a Whelpling in the same room as your bank that sells 36 slot bags. So you can go there, um, click on the Whelp and everything, and buy bags for super cheap. So that's definitely something you'll probably want to do. Next piece of advice is don't use the Narcissist add-on for MOP Remix event. At least not for the purposes that all the YouTubers keep suggesting. Basically, it in its current state, it is not a very good add-on and is going to give you bad habits early on for doing gear and gem management. So I would not recommend using it. I have another video that you can watch where I kind of critique everything in far more detail than Narcissus add-on, but basically, in terms of using it for gem management and gear management and everything, it's not very good in its current configuration. They may be improving it down the road, but until those improvements come and everything, yeah, I would just not recommend using it like all the YouTubers suggest, because it's going to give you bad habits early on that you're going to have to break down the road, so don't use it. My next piece of advice is don't use any bronze to upgrade gear while you're leveling. You're going to be getting a lot of gear very quickly, and you're going to be leveling very quickly. So basically, as you level, the item level of the gear that drops is going to be increasing, and so there's really no point in spending bronze to upgrade gear that you're most likely going to be able to replace in like 5 minutes of playing. So it's basically just wait until you're level 70 and all of the gear that you're getting is 346 item level. And then once you get to level 70 and you start getting all the 346 item level, which is the max item level that drops, even in like raids and everything, that's going to be the time where you're going to want to decide whether you want to upgrade gear or not. The only exception to this is if you do get a piece of epic gear, you'll want to probably hold on to the piece of epic gear and upgrade that. And if you do run into a piece of epic gear, then the way I would go about upgrading that is, so for example, say you get a glove piece, which is what I actually got. I got one glove piece while I was leveling. I would wait until I get a higher item level glove piece to drop, and then once I get the higher item level glove piece to drop, then I can upgrade my gloves to that item level so that I'm not spending the full amount to actually upgrade it to that higher item level. But I wouldn't want to be upgrading that to the next level beyond what I had already gotten from drops or whatever, just because it would be more expensive. So, yeah, again, just don't spend bronze on upgrading gear because basically it's a waste of bronze. So just don't do it. Next piece of advice also is do not buy gems. Pretty much don't buy any of the gems actually. So your meta gems and your cogwheel gems and everything, and all your tinker gems and all that type of stuff. Those you'll basically get those as you're leveling and doing content anyways. And I found that I was able to get all the gems in terms of like tinker, meta, cogwheel, all that stuff. I was able to get all those gems just by leveling and doing content. In terms of the prismatic gems, you're going to also be getting those while you're doing content. Um, You could theoretically go and buy those gems. I would highly recommend against it simply because, again, I consider it a waste of bronze because you're going to be getting all these gems anyways. And if you go and try and buy a gem, you're not even going to be able to be guaranteed which of these types of gems you're getting. So you could be getting haste, you could be getting speed, you could be getting armor. You have no idea. And since you need to essentially you need to get like 9 just to be able to get an epic. Um, it just and then or 12 or whatever. Yeah, not 9 to get a epic gem or 27 to get a legendary gem. So you're going to be getting these gems a lot as you level, and it's going to help a lot to have legendary gems, obviously, but at the same time, you're in the process of leveling, and you really don't have to worry about min maxing until you're actually like max level, anyways. And by the you're going to be trying to get so much bronze if you do try and go down the path of actually upgrading your gear and everything that by the time you finish upgrading your gear like I have, you're going to have a ton of legendary gems just by having played the game. So it's just not worth spending the bronze on getting the gems when you're going to get those as you're playing regardless. Um, so I consider it a waste of bronze. Just don't buy gems at all. And another thing to keep in mind too is these gems are not even soul bound or account bound. So you could actually have somebody, if you really want to, you could actually have somebody give you their gems. So if they have like extra gems, like I've got extra gems, you could actually get somebody on your server to go ahead and just hand you the gems. Unfortunately, as of right now, you can't mail the gems across tunes, but if you have like an alt or something and you can find somebody, you can just ask somebody, hey, can you, I've got like extra legendary gems or whatever, can I give you the legendary gem, hop on my alt, and then um, you basically give me my legendary gems back or something like that. And then like I'll pay you 10 gold or I don't even know what. Um, you can basically just find somebody to hang in around and wherever your tunes are and be like, hey, let me do a transfer. uh, back old EverQuest style. So the next topic is the quality of gear. So there's 3 tiers of gear or 3 types of quality of gear, whatever. Um, so you've got green, uncommon, blue, which is rare, and purple, which is epic. So green will pretty much drop from like everything. Um, Green will basically, besides having the standard gem slots and everything, it's just going to have like, depending on the piece of gear, it'll essentially just have the secondary stat, and then depending on the piece of gear, it may or may not have stamina. So like chest has stamina, um, legs have stamina, and the gun piece has, or your weapon has stamina, and it looks like all the other pieces don't really have stamina. So, but yeah, that's just it with the green piece. It's just mainly just has like the secondary thing, except for on your weapon. Your weapon won't even have a secondary stat. It'll just have the main stat. Blue, which is epic, or blue, which is rare rather. It's a bit rare, but you should still find it while you're out and about questing. You'll find some here and there, and then when you do dungeons and raids, especially once you start doing raids and everything, you'll find a lot of blue gear. Um, you'll want to, if you have, assuming you have the same item level gear, you'll want to prioritize having the blue gear over the green gear, because the blue gear will, while it has the same amount of the secondary stat, it also has the primary stat. So, for example, you can see on my headpiece, I have just a secondary stat. On the blue piece, I've got secondary stat plus agility. And that's pretty much across the board. So you're going to have whatever the green version has, you're going to have that plus your agility or whatever your primary stat is. So I've got agility plus the secondary stat, and then the chest and legs and everything will have stamina. So, and on your primary weapon, you'll actually get more stamina, um, as opposed to that. So you can see like I on my primary weapon, I'm getting 2483 agility. It's still 2483 agility, but now instead of getting agility that I get on all the other stuff, I'm getting stamina. But yeah. And then epic, which is obviously the rarest version, that will have your primary stat. Depending on the armor slot, it'll also have stamina, and then it'll also have two secondary stats. So you'll actually, if you can find epic, which is just extremely rare, you'll want to obviously prioritize having your epic over blue or green gear. Um, but really, out the only time you're really going to be seeing epics is once you start doing heroic and mythic raids. Outside of heroic and mythic raids, I've seen one glove drop while I was questing and leveling up, and I saw one chest piece while I was doing a dungeon. I'm not sure if it was normal or heroic, but that's it. All my other epic gear that I've gotten has all been from heroics and mythics. So, but yeah, that's pretty much really the main differences. You really don't need to worry about um, anything in regards to like DPS or whatever. So like if you look across the board, like you can see I'm getting 186.3 for all three versions, for my damage per second. And you can see my agility remains the same. I just go from going from agility to agility and stamina to agility, stamina, and one secondary stat. So you can pretty much see the same on like all these other. And you may find a piece that has it, like for example on this epic piece, it has all your epic pieces should have two secondary stats, but like in retail, you may just have one secondary stat, and it's not that you've been gypped a secondary stat. It's basically it actually gave you two versatility for the secondary stats. So you've actually got versatility times two. So if you actually like look at it over here, I'm getting 834 versatility and the 134 avoidance. Over here, I'm actually getting 968 versatility, which when you add up the 834 and 134 comes out to 968. So you may see it where like instead of having two secondary stats, you'll actually have just one, but that just means you're getting more of that one. So that's something to definitely take into account once you start like min-maxing your gear and all that type of stuff. So, but yeah, while you're leveling, don't worry about your gear and the stats and everything while you're leveling. Just kind of focus more on equipping whatever the highest item level gear you have is, and that if you have a blue version versus green version of of that item level, um, obviously pick the blue version, and then if you have an epic version, obviously pick the epic version. So kind of focus on that, and yeah, you can see. Don't really worry too much about like, well, is like one weapon better than another weapon? The only real difference is going to be what the secondary stat is. So, like you can see, they all have, no matter what weapon I'm picking, they're all at 346 item level, and no matter which one I pick, they all have the exact same amount of agility, exact same amount of stamina, exact same amount of DPS. So the only difference is going to be the actual secondary stat. So you don't actually have to worry about is one better or like is a gun better, is a crossbow better, is this better, is that better? They're all exactly the same. So Same with the chess pieces and all these other pieces and everything. It's just literally the only difference between them, if they're at the same item level and quality level, is going to be the secondary stat. What is the secondary stat? So don't worry about anything beyond that. Um, Also, in terms of gems while leveling, don't really worry too much about what gems you're using while leveling. Um, Basically, while you're leveling initially, you're just going to be equipping whatever gems you actually happen to have. Eventually, as you start getting more and more gems, you're gonna go ahead and like try and actually start combining the gems, figuring out which gems are better than like which stats you're looking for. So like me being a hunter, it's like, well, do I want mastery versus crit versus haste or whatever? Like, what do I want in my priority? Um, so you'll basically want to refer to Wowhead or whatever source you're using to figure out what your stat priority is, and once you have enough gems where you can actually start worrying about which one to throw in, you can start going, okay, do I want to put crit in? Do I want to put armor in? Do I want to put speed? Do I want to put haste, versatility? What do I want to put in? But yeah, initially while you're leveling up, just mainly focus on using combining the gems and just keep combining them and combining them, and then um, just kind of putting in whatever you happen to have that's the highest gem quality. So once you hit level 70, that's when you can actually start worrying about min maxing your gear and everything. So once you hit level 70, all the gear that drops is going to end up being 346 item level. So you can see here, like, I ran all these raids and everything earlier, and all the gear that's dropping is it's all 346 item level. When I go do out other world content and everything, or outside content like on Timeless Isles and all that stuff, like you can see, I'm getting like 346 item level greens. If I go and do raids or dungeons, I'm getting blues. When I do my raids, I'm getting epics because I'm doing like a lot of the heroic raids and mythic raids and everything. So um, yeah, once you hit level 70, that's when you can start worrying about min maxing your gear and that type of stuff. So yeah, first you'll want to kind of figure out your stat priority again, and like what caps you have. So for example, with me being a hunter, like I've some of the caps I have are supposed to be like 70% crit, 50% haste, 36,000 mastery. Um, I'm not even sure what the versatility cap is, stuff like that. So in terms of initially collecting gear and everything, you'll I personally would recommend you kind of like collect two sets of gear. So you're gonna want to collect like all the gear that is aimed at your main stats, but you're also going to want to collect the gear that is not aimed at your main stats. So, for example, when I was initially starting, I wanted to collect everything that had like haste, crit, mastery, and stuff on it. However, now that I've kind of reached haste and crit and mastery cap, the secondary set of gear that I would want to be able to have available if I so choose is I want to be able to would have stuff like leech, haste, avoidance, versatility, stuff like that, so that once I reach a cap, I can go ahead and actually start swapping out gear and figure out, well, I've hit this cap in in like haste or something, and I have no haste gems equipped, and even with no haste gems equipped, I'm still over haste capped. Um, so if I would want to start taking off any haste gear I have and replacing the haste gear with crit, or replacing the haste gear with mastery or versatility or whatever. And I would do that with like essentially each stat until as each stat becomes capped. And you might wonder, well, how are you like capping this if you don't even like have gear or gems or anything? And essentially through the cloak, you're gonna get like as you keep playing through this event, your cloak's going to keep upgrading, and you're going to just end up with like so much of the various stats that you'll potentially hit the cap just through your cloak alone. But yeah, this is more optional, and if you want to, you can do it. If you don't want to, and you just want to have like just one set of gear or whatever, and just upgrade as you go, then you can do that too. So again, so for upgrading gear, once you hit max level and get all your 3, 4, 6 item level and everything, you're going to want to make the decision of what exactly your end goal is. So your end goal, I would only recommend upgrading your gear if your end goal is to actually end up running heroic and mythic raids at some point. Um, and really, I would only do that if you're wanting to get the achievements. Otherwise, in my personal opinion, it would probably be easier just to run normal raids, go and do the normal raid pugs or whatever, do like outworld content and everything. Um, Run around Timeless Isle and whatever, and just do that in order to farm bronze and maybe like level your cloak up a little bit or whatever. But unless you intend on doing like end game raids and everything, you're going to be able to get into raids with 3, 4, 6 item level, and there's really no point in um, doing upgrading your gear unless you're just wanting to do end game content essentially. Because it's going to take about as much bronze to upgrade your gear as it would be to buy all the transmogs that you're looking to buy for this event. So it kind of depends on what your end goal is. So if you do decide to sit there and upgrade your gear like I did, then I would actually advise upgrade your gear first, because by upgrading your gear first, that will then allow you to get into raids and everything much easier, and it'll become easier to farm the bronze back that you lost afterwards. If you sit there and buy everything and then upgrade your gear, it's going to take you twice as long to actually get all the bronze and everything. So just kind of figure out what your end goal is, and depending on what your end goal is, you can either upgrade your gear or just focus on getting the transmog and all that other stuff from there. Um, Another benefit too of upgrading your gear is once you do upgrade your gear, it is much easier to actually get into a lot of these pug raids. I haven't personally tested it on a 3, 4, 6 item level tune. I mean, I guess I could probably just swap out and like test it, but essentially, what I've noticed anyways is like, especially like now that I'm max item level, um, anytime I try and actually get into a pug, I'm invited almost instantaneously. So I'm currently like locked and saved and everything, so I'm not going to join. But basically, any pug I try and actually get into, like if I wanted to get into a heroic raid or a mythic raid or whatever, I can get into it almost instantaneously, despite being a DPS. And if you play DPS, you know how hard it is to get into pug raids normally. So um, yeah, that's definitely one big benefit of upgrading your gear. In terms of your cloak, so your cloak, I wouldn't worry too much about like just farming nonstop to upgrade your cloak. Um, Basically, just kind of you're gonna want to do all the various dailies and everything. So, for example, you're gonna want to make sure you're doing your daily scenarios, your daily dungeons, and if you can, try and do like all the raids at least on normal. Um, and then definitely make sure you're doing each of the I believe there's 6 world bosses. Um, so you'll want to basically do like one of these 4, that one, that one, that one, that one, and then the one over here. So basically do each of those to get the plus 180 or whatever to your stats. Um, and then you're obviously, yeah, the 2 dungeons, 2 scenarios, and then possibly LFRs if you're just feeling like you want to do that. And then from there you can go grind more rares or whatever you want to grind to upgrade your cloak even further for the day. But honestly, I would just do the daily stuff, and once you do the daily stuff, don't really worry about grinding away at trying to get your cloak upgraded, just because you're going to be able, just by doing the daily stuff, you're going to get your cloak upgraded fairly decently. Like look at my stats. Like that's pretty much all I've done is um, all the daily stuff and then the raids. So like I'm not really heavily farming anything, and yeah. I will say in terms of the cloak, it's definitely very, very, very powerful, and it has the potential to become even more powerful as time goes on. But in terms of actually doing end game content, you're upgrading your gear, at least as of right now, is currently on par with the cloak. So if you have all your gear fully upgraded, it's your cloak is effectively the equivalent of like 4 or 5 pieces of your gear. So that's just one thing to kind of note. I would also say, while unfortunately you can only upgrade everything like once, and then so you have to upgrade every single piece of armor before you can upgrade the next to the next level and everything. Um, while you can only do that initially, let me rephrase that. So while unfortunately, in order to be able to upgrade your armor, you have to upgrade every single piece to be to match that same item level. So, for example, if my highest item level was 346, whatever, I would have to have every single piece at 346 before I could upgrade like my chest to whatever the next level is. And then once I upgrade it one time to the next level, I can't upgrade it again until every single other piece is upgraded to whatever that next level is. So 350 or whatever. Um, but in terms of when you are doing your upgrading, what I would recommend you prioritize is upgrade your chest and leg pieces first. Well, either upgrade. So you're going to want to have chest, legs, and whatever your primary weapon is. So the primary weapon is going to be the most expensive piece to upgrade, but it's going to definitely help you out in terms of like your overall damage. Plus, it's giving you a ton of your base stat. So your weapon is going to be like very, very, very good to upgrade. Uh, the reason you want to do chest and legs is those are the 2 pieces that have the prismatic gems, and so as those upgrade, your prismatic gems will also increase with the amount of stats that they give you as these upgrade. So you'll want to be making sure that these get upgraded first, just so that you're getting the most stats out of all the other pieces and everything. And then once you upgraded those 3, then you can upgrade everything else, and then just kind of continue the cycle over and over and over. You don't have to do it that way. I personally recommend doing that. Unfortunately, you cannot upgrade your rings, trinkets, or neck piece, so those will always remain at 342 item level. Um, I mean, some people might say it's fortunate just because that's less bronze you're having to spend in terms of upgrading, but in terms of being able to get your stats even more and more up there, yeah, basically these 5 pieces cannot be upgraded, at least currently. So that is something to be. And again, just remember that it doesn't really all the gear pieces are basically the same. The only difference between like all the chest pieces I have is what the secondary stat is. So that's pretty much the only thing I'm going to be looking at in terms of what do I want to be wearing is what is the secondary stat that I'm looking for. Um, am I haste cap? Am I crit cap? Do I want speed? Do I want avoidance? Whatever. That's it. Outside of that, it really doesn't matter what the which one of these weapons or which one of these chest pieces or anything like that. It literally just comes down to what secondary stat that you're looking for. So in terms of the gems, so you're going to be, unfortunately, combining 3 gems will not give you 3 or more times that stat. Unfortunately, it won't even give you 2 times that amount of stat. And this is kind of a common misconception that a lot of people have, is that by using one stat versus another stat or whatever, um, they're going to go ahead and get like 2 or even 3 times the amount. So effectively, the way it works is um, if you combine the gems, like say you combine three, so you can see here I've got like 1 haste gem. It is currently going to give me 242 haste at green. However, if I combine it, get a blue gem, it will give me 364 haste. So that's not even double the amount of haste. Even though it took 3 gems to combine into 1 blue, it's not even giving me double. Um, if I go to epic gem, it's now giving me 485. So the original is the green version will give me 242. This is giving me 485. So by effectively getting 9 green gems, it's giving me that combining 9 green gems by doing the green to blue to epic and everything. That'll give me double the stat at epic. So, and then if I want to go to legendary, it's still only giving me 485 haste. The only difference between legendary and epic is it's also giving me a lot of stamina now. So the only difference between epic and legendary is it gives you a lot of additional stamina. It's not actually giving you more of whatever that stat, be it haste, crit, or whatever. It's just giving you the same amount as the epic version, but with a ton of stamina, which you're going to definitely want the stamina. The stamina is very, very good for survivability and all these raids and everything, especially with like leech and all that stuff. But unfortunately, yeah, you're, as far as like the amount of stats that you're getting from these gems, it is not as much as some people have led you to believe, unfortunately. So yeah, so again, like if I throw a green in there, I'm only getting 242 haste, and then it just doubles to 485 with epic or legendary, and it's not even double that. Like it's only like a little bit over. I'm not sure if that's like 1.5 times the amount or what with a blue version. So, and in addition to that, in terms of like each type of gem, so you can see here like crit will give me 485, haste gives me 485, mastery will actually give me 969 though. So, basically each gem is going to be giving its own amount of whatever stat. So it's not like they're not going to be giving you the exact same amount for each type of gem, if that makes sense. So like crit isn't necessarily going to be the same as giving me the same amount of versatility and leech and armor and speed. Basically, like all these have different amounts that they're giving you. So like this is, um, yeah, pretty much because not all stats are created equal. But yeah, just kind of make note of that when you're combining the gems, and even though you're not getting like multiples of these, it's still really, really good to make sure that you have the highest quality gem in each slot, just because you're going to be getting. You basically want to have like as much of the stamina and whatever other stats that you're able to get as you can. So, and the probably the biggest piece of advice that I really haven't heard a lot of people talk about at all, um, is that the gems will actually give you different amount of the stats based on which armor slot they're in. So, I'm going to use the haste as an example. And actually, really quick too. So stacking the gems, I've actually heard some YouTubers say that like if you stack these gems, you'll actually get more, like it'll exponentially increase the amount of stat that you get. That's actually not true. So you can see I have 485 haste. Each of these, the haste gem is giving me 485 haste. Um, Essentially, each haste gem is going to give me the exact same amount. So it's going to give me 485, and then it's going to double that to 969, and then it's going to double that to 1454. So it's not exponentially increasing. It's each gem is just going to be kind of independent of each other gem. So you basically don't need to worry about trying to like stack all your gems together, um, in terms of like exponentially increasing the gem stats. It's just a matter of which armor piece is actually going in. That's really the only thing that matters. Now, each piece of gear, or basically the main thing to know is chest and legs will give you the most amount of stat, um, for the gems. So if I put haste gear in my pants or my chest piece, I'm going to get the most amount of stats by putting my haste gem in either chest or legs, and they'll give me the same amount, regardless of which one I'm sticking it in. So, for example, if I go here and I throw in a haste piece, you can see I'm getting 1,760 haste versus this. With 3 haste gems, I'm getting 1,454. So, 1 haste gem in a fully upgraded pants or chest piece gives me more than what uh, 3 haste gems in the trinket will give me. And obviously, if I only have like 1 haste gem in there, it's going to be like what, the 485 or whatever it was. So, um, yeah, basically chest and legs give the same amount. So if I go here, for example, and throw it in here, I'm getting 1760 haste from chest, 1760 haste from legs. So they're both giving me the same amount. Um, Trinket will give me, uh, what was it, 485 haste. If I were to go to the ring and put a haste gem in my ring, it's actually going to give me 291 haste. So it's not just a matter of what the item level is. It literally is a matter of which piece of gear it's actually going into. So again, I'll go ahead and unequip that so it's easier to see. So you can see one haste gem over in my rings is giving me 291 haste versus my trinket is giving me 485, despite both being the same item level. And then the chest piece and leg piece, which are fully upgraded, are obviously giving me like way, way, way more. Now, since those are like fully upgraded, even if I were to go over here to like a chest piece, like a 346 item level chest piece, it's still giving me way more haste. So you can see here on 346 item level chest piece, I'm still getting 667 haste on that. And it's also important to note that there's the amount of a stat you get will not be affected by the quality of the armor. So you can see I'm getting 667 haste. Well, if I go here to my blue, I'm getting 667 haste as well in blue. And if I throw it in an epic piece, that's 346 item, I'm also getting 667 haste. So I'm getting the same amount of haste regardless of which quality it is. It's based solely on the armor slot and the item level of that armor slot is what the stat will give you. So what you're basically going to want to do is you're going to want to prioritize whatever your best stat is and prioritize putting that in your chest and legs, and then from there prioritize putting it in your trinkets, and then prioritize putting it into your rings and neck piece, because they all share the same. They'll give you the same amount of stat value. So you'll basically want to be prioritizing based on chest and legs, then trinkets, then rings and necks. And once you start getting like higher item level and everything, and start hitting these haste caps and everything, and this is why I actually don't recommend using the Narcissus add-on, is the Narcissus add-on will be throwing gems into whatever sockets are available randomly. And what you're going to want to be doing is figuring out what gem to put into what slot. And you need to basically kind of like, because you're going to be wanting to min-max and everything. So for example, like I'm over my crit cap, I'm over my haste cap and everything. So, and my mastery it's supposed to be at 36,000. So what I could do is, or what I should do rather, is basically go ahead and just take my gems, take these out, and just kind of look. And so you can see, like, just by putting one mastery gem in there, I'm now at my mastery. However, if I weren't at my mastery, so for example, if I took this out, then I'm just about 1,000 below my mastery. So if I were to throw a mastery gem in here, it would give me too much mastery. But if I threw a mastery gem in my rings, it would not give me enough mastery. So I need to make sure I'm throwing the mastery gem into my trinket, which will give me just enough mastery. So you'll want to basically kind of figure out like where your gems are going to be going, and in order to kind of like make sure you're not going over the cap. And then you can basically, once you are starting to go over the cap, you can throw them in like the rings or the trinkets or whatever, and you can start using other secondaries. Like I could sit there and start using versatility, which is what I started doing in my chest and legs, so that I can get a lot more versatility once I hit the that cap and everything. And you're going to be constantly doing this as your cloak upgrades, because even once your armor is fully upgraded, once your armor is fully upgraded and everything, you're just going to be your cloak is just going to still give you more and more stats as you play. So because your cloak is giving you more and more stats, you'll constantly be wanting to adjust these. So eventually, I'm going to get more mastery, and when I get more mastery, I'll probably want to be taking the mastery gem out of this trinket, and then maybe put like another versatility gem in there or whatever. So you're just going to constantly be doing that. Another thing to note is, even though that the item level, your overall item level may be increasing, the stats will always remain the same in the neck and ring pieces. So the neck and ring pieces and trinkets will, because those pieces don't actually upgrade themselves. They are not The gems won't be affected. The gems and these pieces of gear will not be affected by your overall item level. They're only affected by the individual item level of whatever the piece of armor itself is. So, and even the same thing with the chest. Like if I were to sit there and take like one of these, like this green chest, whatever, and throw it in here, um, it wouldn't affect these stats over here. It only affects the stats of the actual chess piece itself. So again, chest and legs is your stat priority. Is going to be chest, legs, then trinkets, and finally neck and ring. So I hope you found this all this information useful, and thanks for listening to me ramble. All right, have a good one.